No, Steve Carell didn't leave the office for a starring role in Threat Level Midnight. So why did he choose to say goodbye to Michael Scott and Dunder Mifflin? In April 2010, Steve Carell made the first public mention that his days at Dunder Mifflin were possibly numbered. He told the BBC that because his contract for The Office only ran through season 7, the then forthcoming season would likely be his last on the series. According to interviews published in Andy Green's book The Office: The Untold Story of the Greatest Sitcom of the 2000s, the lack of internal response to Carell's comment about season 7 potentially being his last actually made the actor feel like it was time to leave. Brian Whittle, who worked as a boom operator and sound mixer on The Office, explained the sequence of events in the book. He described how Carell went into the interview and said what he said off the cuff. For the actor, he was simply thinking out loud and said what was on his mind at the time. However, when his comments made the news and no one from the show contacted him about what was said, Carell actually thought they didn't care and it might be time to hit the bricks.
I'm getting out of town.
Hairstylist Kim Ferry backed up Whittle's story. She noted that Carell wanted to stay on and had told the NBC brass that he planned on signing a new contract that would be good for a few more years. According to Ferry, however, network executives simply didn't reach out to him about negotiating a new deal. She stated, "And the deadline came for when they were supposed to give him an offer and it passed and they didn't make him an offer. So his agent was like, well, I guess they don't want to renew you for some reason," which was insane to me. And to him, I think. She noted that Carell didn't want to leave the office behind, but he simply had no other choice in this matter. She explained how a lot of people believe he left the show because he wanted to and on his own terms when that wasn't the truth. Ferry said she was there and saw how badly he wanted to stay, but it was out of his hands. More importantly, she believes his departure hurt the show because he was at the center of it. Casting director Allison Jones called the whole situation silly because Carell truly wanted to stay on the show. She reaffirmed what Ferry had said, explaining how the actor wanted to do another season, but NBC didn't make the deal.
And desperate situations yield the quickest results.
The Office producer Randy Cordray offered another element that contributed to Carell's departure, the arrival of Bob Greenblatt, who became the chairman of NBC Entertainment in 2011. Allegedly, Greenblatt wasn't the biggest fan of The Office and appeared to take the popular show for granted. Cordray noted his belief that Carell likely would have stayed on the show if there was more respect coming from NBC. He said, "If you're not respected and don't even get offered a contract or a discussion of a future contract, then you move on." For what it's worth, Greenblatt maintained in The Office: The Untold Story of the Greatest Sitcom of the 2000s that it was out of his hands to prevent Carell from leaving the series, since he believed it was already happening before his promotion.
Don't listen to your critics. Listen to your fans.
Putting aside the circumstances detailed in Andy Green's oral history, Steve Carell has addressed his departure and said that it was actually the right time. For him, his character's storyline arc wrapped up in a satisfying way. Speaking to former co-stars Jenna Fischer and Angela Kinsey on their popular recap podcast Office Ladies in March 2023, Carell mentioned Michael's final full episode as his favorite one. He said, "My last one, talk about heart. It was a really difficult episode to do, but I also loved it at the same time because it was sort of that end game for Michael. It was the culmination, the sort of showing the growth that he didn't need the big send-off. He didn't need the big party. He could say goodbye to all of his friends on his own terms without any of the fanfare." When Fisher and Kinsey recalled that it was a difficult final few weeks on set with Carell, largely because everybody loved him so much, the seemingly modest star said he felt it was time for him to go. He said, "It was difficult because we were such good friends, and it had been so much fun and so rewarding in a lot of ways, always. But at the same time, there was this, for me, there was a joy to it, when you're crying with joy, because it wasn't even sadness. Like, because I was ready to go, and so I wasn't sad about leaving."
I've always wanted to be in the witness protection program.
Not only did Steve Carell tell Jenna Fischer and Angela Kinsey that his timing was right for Michael's overall journey, he specifically mentioned that his exit would allow other characters to take center stage. He said, "It was time for other characters to kind of step to the forefront and other storylines to be pursued. The timing was right, I think, for everybody. But simultaneously, there was just a sense of joy for me that we had experienced all of this and I was getting a chance to kind of take a lap with everybody." Carell added it was an emotional time, but he was grateful for the opportunity to say goodbye to Michael while working with his friends. Now, whether or not that actually paid off is a big question for fans of The Office, considering how poorly new characters like Nellie were received after Michael's exit. However, it's clear Carell got the closure he wanted from his final days on set.
Congratulations, universe. You win.
Ultimately, Steve Carell's career definitely didn't suffer after he left The Office. He has been on an upward trajectory ever since. The same year he left the popular show, he appeared in Crazy Stupid Love, following that with indie movies like Seeking a Friend for the End of the World and The Way, Way Back, as well as continuing his franchise streak in the Despicable Me movies. The year 2014 brought Carell's first brush with major awards shows thanks to his showy yet terrifying central performance in Foxcatcher, and he picked up more nominations the following year working with his Anchorman director Adam McKay on The Big Short. After a string of renowned films, Carell appeared alongside a star-studded cast in Wes Anderson's Asteroid City in 2023. Carell made his grand return to television in 2019, turning to drama with Apple TV's flagship series The Morning Show, where he plays disgraced news anchor Mitch Kessler. With his character killed off in Season 2, Carell returned to comedy in the Netflix series Space Force. Most notably, Carell also starred in the limited series The Patient, where he portrays a therapist kidnapped by his violent, unstable patient.